Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Happy winning on Wednesday. Hope y'all are all having an amazing start to your week. We are here. We have had some technical difficulties. Apparently, Facebook like to change some more things with Facebook groups, but we are here no matter what, regardless, because we want to sit here and drop some value for you guys. I've got an amazing guest, but you guys know, as always, before we get going, shout out to the main sponsor of the show, Viva Virtual Solutions. Thank you to Rob Lopez and Lily Davies for everything that y'all do within the insurance syndicate, which you guys are seeing on my personal profile today. But then ultimately everything that you do for Clearview Insurance, as well as countless other insurance agents. If you guys are in the market for a virtual assistant, check out Viva Virtual Solutions. Again, that's run through my good friend Rob Lopez. And again, thank you everybody for tuning in. I know we missed you last week. We almost apparently about missed you this week too, but we are determined to be here. So yeah, again, for whatever reason, let me know in the comments if you guys can't hear and see us. Facebook is changing some stuff up with the groups, so we are here on my personal profile. But no matter what, we are here. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. And you guys know what time it is. Before we bring on our guest, it's Winning on Wednesday. Go ahead and start dropping those weekly wins in the comments, y'all. We want to be able to celebrate you. Drop those weekly wins in the comments. Let us know what you got. Drop them in. I don't care how big or how small. We want to be able to celebrate you. My weekly win is we've got a bunch of Clearview agents in town today, so I'm excited for that. We actually closed out a new franchise this morning as well to kick off the day. Got a bunch of agents in-house. We're going to do House of Dreams. We're going to do some training, and it's just going to be a really good day. So I'm excited for that. That is my weekly win. I am without my fearless co-host, Mr. Merwin, today, so it is just me, but it's not the first time he's been on the show, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and just bring him on because I know we were running a little late, and I want to respect everybody's time. But you guys know who he is. If you don't follow him, then you need to go follow him, and I'll make sure and tag him in the post after the actual live show is done. But he is the hardcore closer. If you guys could see his name on the on StreamYard, he is motherfucking Stewman. What's going on, hardcore closer, Mr. Ryan Stewman? How are you, sir?
Man, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, man. It's always good to hang out with you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I appreciate your flexibility. It was like, hey, man, I'm going to have to send you this new link. This one's not working. So I respect you and your time. And really, again, glad to have you on again, man. And I guess for those, again, I know I always like typically do this, but for those who don't know who Ryan Stewman is, just give them a quick little 30,000 foot overview.
I am the CEO of a company called Closer Capital. And I also am the founder of a large business network called Apex. But I really started the whole social media, online marketing, make money, generate leads, like that whole thing. I started all that back in 2008 before it was famous, and before anybody really even knew you can make money from social media. I was doing a lot of business from it. So, you know, if you see a young man in a Lamborghini selling a bullshit course, that's probably my fault. I'm sorry, but I've created a lot of millionaires online and brick and mortar businesses because of that. So, been pretty cool to watch it go from me trying to convince people like you, Joe, that you can make money online to that being common knowledge in one of the top 5 fastest growing industries out there. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
I
Man.
was, it's one of those things in business. If you are the first to do something, you can be and like everybody says, oh man, I wish I'd have worked for Google back in 2003, but they probably wouldn't have paid you. You know what I mean? Like you'd have probably had to work for free. And so many people, they don't understand the shit that goes into being first, trying to convince people that Facebook is a thing, then trying to convince people that you can make money from it, and then, sometimes when you're in first like me, and let's say this thing I really went in full time in 2010, it didn't really catch mainstream till about 2015 or 16. And so, I had 5 years of if you sell insurance, then people know what insurance is. If you sell mortgages, people know what that is. But, I had 5 years where I'm convincing people there's this other media, which is now the strongest form of media out there. So
it's funny. Literally, as you were saying that, I wrote down, be first to the market. And it's, you went right there. Cause I was like, what is the importance of being first to the market? Right. I think and that's why probably a lot of people don't go first, because of the work and everything that they've got to do. And it's not maybe proven yet. So what, I guess in your mind, before we kind of get into what we're talking about today, like, I guess, is that faith driven? Is that confidence? Is that just belief? Like, I know this shit's going to work, or is it kind of like, man, I hope this works, but I don't want to be last to the market. That's for damn sure.
Well, I'm probably about to say some hokey shit, but I want to say it in a thing that isn't like some new age bullshit, right? Most of success making money, really not even making money. Most of success in anything is simply a belief. And if you believe, like most people buy based on the vibration you're giving them of your confidence. And so when you're extremely confident in something, it's hard for somebody else to say no, even though they might think it's bullshit, because they're like, fuck, this guy believes in it,
Right.
And so I say that because, here I am. I was a mortgage guy, and I had been to federal prison, got out, got back into mortgages, and the CPFB was created, and it took mortgages from state to federal, licensing wise. And I was on federal parole, so they wouldn't give me a license. But I had been getting mortgage leads from Facebook. People, my friends would reach out and say, hey, dude, can you refinance my house or whatever? And so one day I'm like, fuck, out of a job. And I'm like, man, I really believe in this fit. Like, if I would put all my effort into this social media thing, I'm going to be light years ahead of everybody else. If I start building this shit now in 2010, then at some point I got to be ahead of most people. Right.
Right.
And so back then, I remember, let's say I really started learning the internet shit in 2008, but by 2010, I'm out of a job and I'm doing this stuff full time. I remember seeing guys like Frank Kern and Ryan Dice and Social Media Examiner, these websites. And that's where everybody was going at the time. And I was like, they're driving traffic to a website, but they could just put that shit on Facebook and people are already there. But I'm looking at them going, man, they've got 1,000 blogs, 1,000 podcasts. Like, they're fucking light years ahead of me. But now I look up and it's 15 years later. A lot of those companies slowed down. A lot of them don't exist anymore. A lot of them didn't adapt. And I'm like, oh shit, now I think I've got more content than any of those people, and that's the key. Most people get overwhelmed and they think they're so far behind, but what they don't realize is, like, most people quit or give up or hit a rough patch that they can't overcome during the way. And, I've had a lot of rough patches too. I don't know how the fuck I've overcome them over the years, but that life's not for everybody,
Right.
And so, just sticking around and staying into something. So my thing was, I had made money from it. And I look at it this way. It's different now, but back then, 2010, I was making money from social media, and I'm a fucking convicted felon nobody in Plano, Texas, right? Like at that point, nobody knows Ryan Stewman. There's no hardcore closer. There's just this fucking guy that lost his job. And I'm like, if I can do this and I don't even have that big of a network or that much talent, I can't write, I never made videos before, then surely a guy like Rodney Anderson, who's the top loan officer in Dallas, surely that guy could fucking really dominate on this. And that's going to give him, this guy at the time, I'm like, Rodney, for example, he's paying, tens of thousands of dollars to have a radio show on AM radio every Saturday where people are calling in, whereas he could be putting out 5 posts a day on fucking Facebook that's there forever. And so having those conversations and that belief, but I'll never forget, Joe, the first person, I had an insurance guy named Sean, was my very first client. And seeing him go and become like from a nobody to becoming the top producer at his Liberty Mutual branch and throwing these big events and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, we're on to something. So once I proved it worked for me, and this random dude Sean that finally paid me $1,000 to help him out, right, then it was off to the fucking races, because it's like, oh shit, it worked in mortgages and insurance. Oh, we got it.
Yep. And it's funny because I look at how long I've been doing this. And it was, I think, I definitely haven't been doing it as long as you, but it was still not the sexy thing to do. Like, and I'm just all over the place, and they're like, how many groups are you in? And I'm like, I'm in 200 plus Facebook groups, and I'm posting the engagement. I did the whole Gary V, the jab hook type style, and when to post and what to post. And I've been doing it for years, and people are like, dude, how do you have so much time to be on Facebook? And it goes back to your first point. It makes me money, right? But it took that buildup where a lot of people see what I do now and what I'm able to drive and how many referrals and how many leads, which is good when I go to, and I'll be humble and honest on it. It's good when I go to speak to it, but I think a lot of people miss that. Guys, keep in mind though, I've been doing this for like 8 years, right? Like consistently, and that's why you're now seeing the benefits and the reward from that. Because I think, again, to your point, some people miss kind of the bumps in the road, like, hey, look, like, or you get banned from Facebook and I can't post, and then my leads, shift, or even stuff like this morning, right? Where it's like, okay, now my group, I can't stream to my group in front of thousands of people, so we got to do this. And like, it's just like roadblocks. I have a question for you before we get into Closer Capital stuff. Do you always start, like, I preach a lot on like kind of having that GPS, right? And that GPS of like where, hey, I'm not going to drive to Stewman's office, right? I'm going to plug in that address, not to say that there might be inclement weather, right? Or icy roads, or maybe there's, obstacles or reroutes or traffic, but ultimately I still have that end in mind. Do you think you had that when you first kind of got going with the whole social media, again, because it wasn't proven, or even just anything in general in life? Is there typically kind of an end in mind where you have that, even though, I'm going to go through this knowing my backstory, and I've been there too, where it's like, for some reason, I always do shit the hard way. But I always had that end goal in mind. Is that kind of how you operate as well, or I guess how you started?
No, and I still don't have an end goal. That's a weird thing to say for a lot of people in my position, but it worked like this, Joe. When I was first getting into this, like I said, I had a hard time convincing people. And originally I wrote the content for everybody. So, hey, you need to post 5 times a day. Now you become a client. I'm writing 5 posts a day for you. I had like 70 people at one point I did that for. It's a fucking nightmare. But I set up I did this exercise, which I highly recommend everybody else. My friend Frank Kern taught me this, but I wrote down like my perfect day. Okay, so like if I had to be Groundhog Day, every day was the same day for the rest of my life, okay, what would I want that day to be like if I had to? And for me, that's not a day where like, oh, I wake up at the beach and I put my toes in the sand. That might be for you. Maybe you don't like working, and so that's cool for you, But at the time, I wrote down, what kind of house I would wake up in, what my bed would feel like, how many kids I have. All of these things. Shit, for some reason I hit a button on my computer and lost you. Hold on.
You're good.
Where the fuck did you go?
See, guys, roadblocks.
There we go. Okay, yeah, there we go. So, like what I would eat for breakfast, if I'd have a chef, how I would travel, and I wrote out this perfect day in 2010, and that was kind of like my GPS, and then I look up in like 2018 and I'm like, I'm living that day more days than not. And then, we have these periods of life where things change for us. So, right. So like, let me walk you through this. Like I've since like 2004 made $500,000 a year. So I've been making money for a long time, 21 years now, right? Decent money for a long time. So, by the time I get to where I'm making millions of dollars a year, which is like 2014, 2015, I'm like, okay, well, now all those things, all the posters I had on my wall, all the background I've had on my computers over the years, like I can go buy that shit, right? And so I do, like most people, when they get money, go buy the watch that I've always wanted, and the car that I've always wanted, and you know, I think success has this look, right? Like if you're a millionaire, you should drive a Lamborghini and have a Rolex watch and fly private or whatever the fuck, right? And I'm living this perfect day, but then I realized that's not the perfect day for me at all. And sometimes you get what you want, and you realize that, for example, I weigh 195 pounds. Getting in and out of a Lamborghini is very difficult. Getting door dings on a Rolls Royce is a pain in the ass, man. They're $20,000 to pop the motherfuckers, right? And that bitch takes the whole fucking parking space up. Like you can't drive it unless there's valet. So there just becomes all these, $3,000 oil change, fucking. I at one point I had like 17 fucking exotic cars, and I'm like, I have an inspection sticker going out twice a month because of the amount of fucking. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, then I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to pay somebody 30, 40 grand a year just to fuck. What a dream job to fucking drive and take care of these cars. Like, fuck all this, right? So I go back to the drawing board in 2022. I'm highlighting my career, peaks. Everybody had money back then, making a lot of money back then. And we made a lot of money since then, but not like 2022, obviously. For a lot of people, that was a killer year. And so I go back in 22 and I'm like, man, I don't like, part of my dream day was speaking on stage, right? I'd fly somewhere, speak on stage. And I'm like, man, I've spoke next to every celebrity. If you look on my wall, there's pictures of me and Nas. And I mean, like, dude, I've done it all, man. And so I look up and I'm like, okay, I did that. I don't want to live my life that way. That's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't want to be away from my wife and kids. I don't want to live in fuck hotels. Like, I don't want to do that. Right. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, what do I want? And it's hilarious because the wife and I were in the middle of building like a $5 to $7 million house. We bought this lot and we're going to build this house. The builder pissed me off. I told him to go fuck himself, and I got my money back on the lot. Right. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, cool. I thought success was the McLaren, this big house. And I'm like, maybe that's not it. So I go back to the drawing board. What is a perfect day for me? Right now at this point, now I've got options, because part of the problem when you have options or you have money, guys, is you got options. You can buy any car, you can buy any watch, you can buy any house, and that gets fucking overwhelming and confusing. You can invest in any opportunity, and that gets overwhelming and confusing. And you're like, what do I say no to? What do I say yes to? Shit. Like you always have a bunch of options, but usually don't have money. But then when you got money, then the options are still there, and you're like, fuck, how do I not get distracted by options? So I'm like, you know what? I want a place where, and at this time in 2022, we still may, but we thought the world was going to war. If you remember, we're like, Biden got us in a fucking war with Russia. We're all going to die. And so I went and bought a bunch of land and bought some tractors and built a house in Oklahoma. And I realized that, now I meet a lot of my neighbors, and my neighbors are all millionaires. They own hundreds of acres of land. They're multi-millionaires, but none of them have a Lamborghini. A lot of them drive old paid off, truck with a flatbed on it or something like that, but they're millionaires. Right. And I'm like, oh, well, success doesn't have necessarily the look I thought it does. And I started thinking, okay, well, I've always looked for success from this material standpoint. Like, I'm successful, therefore I have a Lamborghini. I'm successful, therefore I live in this type of house. When in reality, you have to find inner success. Those cars lasted me like a week, and then it was a car. Right. The car is like, I get that high from buying it, but then I know it sounds crazy, but then you don't get the same high from owning it. Right. Like, you get a high from like, I bought that, I can afford it, it's mine. And then for me, I have my last McLaren I had for 4 years. That thing sat in my garage for like a year, and I put 100 miles on it. Right. 4 kids. When the fuck am I going to have time to drive a 2-seater car? And so, and so I look at it now, success for me, I've got this land. I've got 4 kids that ride their 4-wheelers and have the time of their life and chase cows. And like, I asked my kids, where you guys want to go for spring break? The ranch. Like, And I realize now my perfect day, next to everything on that perfect day, I put what it would cost me. Then I add that up over the course of 365 days. And now I've got an actual goal, a money goal that means something. A lot of people pick their money goal like they draw lottery numbers. They just say, oh, this seems like a good number. I'll just fill this in the blank here. 10 million it is, right? But they don't know that, like, man, their best life might only cost 300 grand and they're fucking working way too goddamn hard to attain something that. And I was having a conversation last night. You know, I've had a company that does 20 million in a year that costs me 19.5. And then I've got another company that does $1 million a year, costs me $30,000 to operate. So which one do you think is actually, one of them sounds cool. I got $20 million a year fucking company. The other one is actually making money. Right. Yeah. And so, you know, we get caught up in that too. It's like, oh, you know, I'm going to keep boosting this top line revenue and brag to everybody. And you look back and you're like, fuck, everybody got paid but me.
You know? Right. I love, because that's something, you know, I really kind of, you know, I question agents on, right? And especially like when I'm doing my whole house of dreams, like what even, I don't word it this way, but what is your perfect, like what does success look like to you? And some people, you know, I think we get so caught up in this kind of, well, speaking on social media, and just the whole influencer fad, and especially in the younger generation, like, all right, this is total squirrel moment. It's just crazy to me, man. Cause you know, I do a lot at the church with our youth, and it's like, what is up with youth watching other people play video games? I'm like, why don't y'all play the video? I'm like, I never watched other, like I would be sitting in line like, hey, when is it my turn? Right. It's just so weird. Like what everybody has access to. And again, like what people follow and what success looks like today. Right. And I think a lot of people, when they go to build what I call the house of dreams, they build their house based off of what other people's looks like because they think that's what success is. I love how you broke it down where y'all, like your perfect day, success in your mind is actually, it could be way more attainable than what you're making it out to be. Sometimes we just need to go, and I love that you write it down. I'm a big roadmap, like whiteboard it, get it on paper, man, and then you'd be amazed at like how you can really start to get specific with that.
The best investment you can make, Joe, is going and buying a Vibe board. They're a couple $1,000, but you need to buy one.
A Vibe
board? Vibe board. It is an electronic whiteboard that you can pull the internet up on. It's like a flat screen. You pull the internet up on, but you can whiteboard stuff out and then save it, and then also get it on your phone and your desktop. And dude, it is like, dude, it's the best thing I've ever bought for business. Period.
Yeah. What's that calendar thing that I saw either Starlight. You or Amy posting about it? Yeah. Isn't that the game changer?
That's great for the family too, man. You know what my son did? I got a 12-year-old son. He's a badass. And he went and added to his daily chores to do 30 push-ups. So now he's checking off. He's adding his own stuff. So dude.
Let's go. Pretty cool. Love that, man. Look, we got some comments. So, and guys, go ahead and just keep dropping them in the comments. I think my live viewers is messing up on my side. So if you have any questions or anything, as we kind of, we're getting into, you guys can see in the description, we're about to get into just talking money. And Ryan, I'm going to turn a lot of this over to you because every time I get on a call with you and we start to, it's kind of what I was talking to Hamza yesterday, was just like, dude, I'm not going to lie, man. Some of this shit just like, like my brain just doesn't operate that way. And so, you know, I like taking a backseat too, man, and just hearing, you know, all the education and all the knowledge you have from being really in the, we'll call it the lending and we'll just say financial services, even though it's not insurance, just everything that you have there. But guys, if you have any questions, I know I see you guys dropping them in here. What's up, Victor? Good to see you, bro. And then looks like Kat is, yes, Vibe board all day. She's all about it. And then I have to do it for Murray. We both know Murray. You met him at my event in Austin.
Yep.
We got a dab every time. He's like, Dabber, it isn't live. What's up, Rob? Good to see you guys on here. Again, if you have any comments or questions, definitely drop them here and I'll get you guys up on the show. But without further ado, guys, we're going to move into talking about some money, specifically through Closer Capital, excuse me. I'm actually an affiliate partner with them, with Ryan and his team. And y'all, it's just crazy what we have access to. It kind of goes back to what you're saying, Ryan, like when you have the money, then in the options, it's like, well, guys, even if you don't have the money, you actually may have more options than you think. And so that's kind of what I want to wrap up the show with and kind of take the tail half end here and just talk everything that Ryan's doing with Closer Capital. We'll drop some links in here. Victor, I see, is already dropping some links too to join Apex. Definitely join us in Apex. But we're going to be talking some money today. So Ryan, why don't you just kind of give a brief overview? What is Closer Capital? Kind of what got you kind of pushed into that? I know obviously you've been doing it for years, but what really kind of is making you scale that side? And then obviously what all we've got coming out not only for our clients, but for other agents that want to partner up?
Yeah. So I've been in the finance industry since 2004. Prior to that, I was selling dope and washing cars. And one of the customers at the car wash offered me a job in the mortgage business. So I quickly worked my way up there to be a correspondent lender. And what that means is I was so good at originating and bringing clients in that I got to work on the back end and package up the finance deals. Now, that is such a rare combination for somebody in the lending world, right? So that's like saying that Joe is an insurance agent, but he also underwrites it and sells it to AIG on the back end, right? That's like those dudes don't exist. But I happen to work for a company and did so well and showed so much interest that the lady was grooming me to take over the company when she retired, right? And it was her and her lawyer that owned the company. So I had to learn every position in the company, and then she passed away. And shit fell apart before we could pull it off, right? But long story short, I got to work in another company down the street from my office here, where I worked so my job in sales was to sell $50 million worth of mortgages to Goldman Sachs, as opposed to just originating a loan. So big moves, putting together, checking everything. So I say that because, I've been in the finance industry for 21 years at this point, but I have seen it all. So in the mortgage world in 2010, as we discussed earlier, I lost my ability to do mortgages. So I started teaching social media, but the CPFB, I had a license with the state. CPFB says it's now federal license. They wouldn't give me one. So in the mortgage world, when they created the Dodd-Frank Act, it was a ton of paperwork, right? And it's hard, as you know, used to could get mortgages, stated loan, no money down. Now you got to put money down, get good credit, provide tax returns. So, I got out of that industry. Well, about 2 years ago, I started looking at, I wanted to be back in the finance industry. I had like this itch because I just love numbers. And I started looking, it's like, I don't want to go back to mortgages because there's not a big enough margin in that. And so I start looking at business to business lending. And since it's private money, there's no license and there's little regulation. And so I start looking into to build it. Well, I went and did what smart people do. And I hired a guy that made $1 billion selling his lending company. And I worked with him for a year to show me how to build everything. And then I put my stuff on top of what I learned from him. And so we've had Closer Capital for on the lending side for a year. In 1 year, we've taken 856 applications and funded God knows how many tens of millions of dollars of loans.
Let's go.
And we did all that with 3 people. And so now in the last month, we've expanded to about 15 people. We're traditionally getting 8 or 9 applications in a day as it is, right? Wow. And so what we are doing for here in the next couple of days, probably next week, I'm going to run a webinar explaining it in better detail, but I'm about to roll out an affiliate program where all of you can sign up. You'll have your own link. It's free. You'll have your own link. Anytime somebody mentions money, you drop your link. It'll track it in my system. When we close a deal that came in, we'll pay you 10% of what the company makes. So the company makes 10 grand, you make $1,000. And so what we're doing is creating an affiliate army, not of people originating loans, but just people generating leads for us. And then we're paying them for the lead if it closes, right? So really nobody has anything to lose. They can trust me. They know we're a good source to get money from. They can, also, make a little extra money, especially if someone's got a company like you guys. You have a lot of truckers that are always borrowing money and stuff like that. And that's the great thing is I built a network, guys, of hundreds of lenders. And so what I am is the middleman between hundreds of lenders. So you can go and a person can apply at 4 or 5 different places to see what's going to give you the best rate. And they're going to run your credit 4 or 5 different times, or you can come to me. I'm going to look at your shit. I know where you need to go and what you need to get and who's going to have the best rate. And I send you directly there and I get paid for saving you time and effort from the bank. Right. Mm-hmm. So the way that like our main product that we sell, and I highly recommend if you own a business and you're watching this, you need to get set up with this anyway, just to have it. Our main thing we sell is a line of credit. So a business line of credit, there's no recourse. It doesn't report to your personal credit. It's not backed by your company. It's a highly risky lending opportunity. But for most businesses, the banks won't give you a line of credit. Like it's like fucking pulling teeth, you know, unless you've got millions of dollars in their bank account, or if you're going to secure money against it or something like that. With us, we offer non-recourse lines of credit up to $1.5 million, right? We do them typically $150,000 is like our sweet spot. The way that the lines of credit work is we'll loan you about 50%. You're going to have good credit, but we'll loan you about 50% of what your monthly deposits are. So if you're a company and you're doing $200,000 a month in top line revenue, we'll give you around $100,000 line of credit, right? That $100,000 line of credit's revolving. That means you draw $100,000, you pay interest monthly. Okay. It's 1 to 5% monthly, just depending on where your credit lands in that equation. But let's say that, you know, you draw the money and in 90 days you pay it off. Well, you only paid, let's say 9% in interest on your money. But here's the better part is if you go and you make $200,000, you got to pay $60,000, $70,000 in taxes. If you borrow $200,000, there's no tax and the interest is actually tax deductible. Right. And it's a business write-off because it's the cost of doing business. So it's actually more beneficial to actually scale a business. But a lot of that we see blue collar guys getting a line of credit so they can carry materials. A lot of times we do cash advance too for people that don't quite qualify for the line of credit. What we do is we're on the business back end. So you might take a loan out with us, pay it off, or us refinance it, get you another loan with a better rate, us pay it off. We can guide you through the system of getting to where you're top tier credit, like myself, where you can go buy a building for $10 million and put it in a company name and it not be on your personal name or recourse at all. So, but it takes a while to get there. So we're not just a lending output for business owners. We're like the money. You run your scenarios by us. Tell us what you can always be truthful with the bank, but you can tell me what you're trying to do. Look, bro, I'm trying to get in this deal with no down payment. How the fuck can I borrow money from you to secure this real estate money from you, from my business that I can use and loan to myself to buy this real estate deal? You can be honest with us and we'll help you put that together. And I think that's the thing is like, people know my team and myself have a lot of experience. Hamza's been doing this for 10 years. Taylor's been doing it for 13. I've been doing it for 21. So we all have a ton of experience in the finance side of things. And, you know, you can come in and run a real scenario by us where you run some scenarios by banks and the loan officer freaks out or tells you they can't do it. I'm the kind of guy that's like, hey, we're not going to commit fraud, motherfuckers. But here, I'm the type of guy that's like, here's the proper paperwork trail to get what you're trying to get done. You know,
Isn't it crazy how being relatable and real is what actually, because like, I mean, again, think about somebody's probably like stereotyping, like what it's going to be like, or like they're already, imagining in their brain what it's going to be like when I walk into this bank. And they're going to be eyes on me. It's going to be scrutiny. It's going to be this. And then it's like, wait, I can just go say what's up to Stewman and he can walk me through this. And it's like how crazy, like drastically different experience.
Or the walk of shame. They deny your shit. You got good credit, good financials. They still don't want to fucking do nothing for you because they don't understand your business and you got to walk out with a no. At least if you get told no on the internet, it's like, all right, shit. But, you know, and we have to tell people no, we loan money. It is what it is. Some people have bad credit, not enough qualifications. But one thing we really do, though, is we're like, okay, Joe, you know, here's where most people make the mistake. I'm going to give y'all some real game here, okay? And this will work for your clients too, because I know the better credit, the better rate they get in insurance as well. Most people make a mistake on their credit. Let's say that they make a late payment on their car 3 years ago and now their car is paid off, or they made a late payment on a credit card and then they canceled that account. So the credit repositories, the credit bureaus, they're going, well, the last time that Joe did something, he fucked it up. And that's all we've got to grade his score on. The way to fix old bad credit is with new good credit. It's like a magician's trick. It's like, look at this hand while this one's pulling a rabbit out of the hat, right? So you get your people say, okay, dude, look, you got a 499 credit score, but the last thing that reported on your credit was 4 years ago, bro. So go to First Premier, get a $500 credit card, use that bitch for 2 months, go to K Jewelers and go buy you a fucking 300% marked up watch, but go make $50 a month payments on the thing. And guess what? In 3 months, your credit, because you got new shit popping up with good payment on it, it's going to go from 499 to 699 because now you've got good new things reporting here in about 90 to 120 days. Then if you guys, like for me, I'm like, let's refinance that loan. Hey, let's refinance your car. Now you've got better credit. Let's refinance your car. Let's refinance. It's not just about, hey, come and get money from us. It's like, we will help you get the things that you want. Because when you get better credit, you get a better rate with us. You get a better rate on your mortgage. You get a better rate on your car. You get a better rate on your insurance. And most people, they think, oh, I fucked my credit up. Nobody will ever give it to me again. That's not true. There is a shitload of bad credit reestablishment stuff. I learned this because, you know, I went to prison in 2007, a millionaire with 32 houses, walked out fucking with nothing. As you can imagine, my credit was fucking destroyed. I didn't have the ability to pay for anything for 15 months, right? And so I got this bad, but my bad credit's 15 months old when I get out. So I go to Merrick Bank, First Premier, and Credit One, and I get these $500 secured credit cards that report to my credit. And shit, within about a year, I bought a house, right? Because all my credit was fixed and my credit score is back at 740. And, you know, all the old bad stuff was superseded by the new good stuff. So you guys having this conversation, let's say, Joe, somebody applies with you, they got bad credit, you got to give them a high interest rate. Hey, here's how you fix that. And then they come back to you in 6 months at renewal. And, you know, shit, that means, honestly, if I'm just being real with you insurance agents, you know, you can be like, hey, you can still sell them. They're so used to paying at bad credit. You can sell them a higher price that saves them money on a better deal that makes you money and makes them feel like they're saving a ton because you help them out. And really, you're winning bigger.
And it's just, again, it's like what separates you from the noise.
Yeah.
It's like no insurance agent sitting there giving people just like, hey, by the way, like you can go. And we have the credit on our side, just to be specific, y'all, for anybody in insurance. It's called an IS, an insurance score. So there's like multiple variables that go into that, but Ryan's 100% correct. Like your credit is a part of that, where it's like, imagine I'm like, hey, okay, so here's your IS right now. And I can see a big, you know, here's a trigger on your credit. And I don't need to necessarily, you don't need to tell me what that is. I'm seeing the alert. Go do these things. It's not going to really cost you anything other than some time. Fix that, dude. In that renewal, I can go, you know, I can rerun this or whatever. And then turns out, you know, we can actually help them. And again, nobody's taking the time. And there's really, it doesn't even take that much time, which is kind of what I want to talk about with you, Ryan, because we talked about this a lot on our previous calls within Closer Capital. Timing, where so many times people will wait until they need the freaking money. And now it's the wrong time because they can't go get it. Right. And it's like, so talk a little bit about timing and just the importance of why you should go secure that now versus when the times is rough, right?
I see this all the time. A guy comes to me and he says, right, I see this fucking daily, guys, okay? And so do not be this person because there's nothing I can do. Comes to me, let's say Joe. He comes to me and he's like, hey, you know, how much of a line of credit can I get? You know, I got good credit, make good money. I'm like, cool. Joe, you qualify for $125,000 line of credit. And it's at 15% weekly paybacks at $800 if you're borrowing against it. And Joe's like, well, you know, that's cool, but that's a high interest rate or whatever. Because a lot of people still think rates are from 2022. So like, that's a high. Then Joe, he go, okay, Joe, man, no matter what I can do it, convince him. 2 months go by. Now Joe's fucking in the slow season, right? Nobody's buying houses or cars right now. It's a slow season. Joe hits me back up and he's like, fuck, man, I really could use that money actually. But now he's at, you know, now I can only loan him 50 grand because he's waited 90 days and his volume's gone down. The best thing you can do is if you are at the peak of your fucking earning right now, go borrow money. Because shit happens in business, right? Shit happens in business, like unexpected bills, fucking employees quitting, referral sources, shit happens. And then when you need that money, like here we go, I can give Joe 125 grand. Then he comes back to me 90 days later and I'm like, I can only give you 50 now. Now 50 don't help him. He's got a $125,000 problem. And he's like, but bro, what happens? Like you didn't listen to me. Right. And here's the thing, especially if you're getting a line of credit, you're only paying when you're drawing against it. So you can go get it set up today and we're going to make you draw 10 grand to make it real. But you can pay the 10 grand back fucking immediately. Who gives a shit, right? And so we're going to make you draw a minimum of 10 grand. And guess what? Every 90 days, they're going to make sure that you're making some sort of withdrawal on it. That's it. You pay it back. It revolves around just like a credit card. But guess what? If you start getting smart with it, then you can play the scale game. You can say, okay, Every time I borrow money, I can leverage that against my tax bill. Every time that I have debt, I can leverage that against my tax bill. If you get a smart accounting team, a smart CFO, then you can operate like Tesla, Apple, where you're, $200,000-$300,000 in your case in debt at all times, which means that all the money you're getting back's paying towards debt minus what you're paying yourself, which means that you can balance that off against taxes. And interest rate at 15% is a fuckload cheaper than taxes at 30%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually play a smarter game financially here. So you don't have to need money to borrow money, right? And if the bank right now says, hey, Ryan, we'll give you $500,000 at 30% interest rate. Well, the game plan for me is, okay, how long do I have to pay that back? Okay, a year. So how many times can I flip $500,000? So for me, my game is advertising. I usually get a 5-to-1 return on ad spend. So if I put $500,000 into ads, I know I got $2.5 million coming back throughout the course of the year. Then that money made me money. It didn't cost me money. They could have gave me 100% interest rate, but I know my numbers and my shit at a 5 ROAS, return on ad spend. I know that putting $500,000 in there, it might cost me $1 million for that $500,000, but I know I got 2.5 on the back end.
Right. Yep.
That's the smartness. And for you, it may not be ads. It may be, hey, I know I hire a Joe and I recruit a Joe and I pay Joe a $50,000 signing bonus to come over to my agency. I know Joe's going to make me fucking $2 million in policies this year. So it's worth me borrowing even at 200% to bring Joe over as a signing bonus. That's the kind of way you've got to think with this money. What people do is they go, here's how it works. Like Zig Ziglar tells this story. Okay. He gets married to his wife, the redhead. And the very first Christmas, very first Christmas, they go over to the redhead's family, right? So Zig's very first Christmas with his wife, he's with the wife's family. And he goes into the kitchen, his wife's cooking a ham, and she's cutting off the ends of the ham, and she throws them in the trash. And Zig's like, what in the world's going on here? And she goes, yeah, we always cut the ends of the ham off. He looks at his wife's mom and he goes, why do y'all do that? And she goes, oh, well, I don't know why she does that, but I do it because that's what my mom did. And he goes into the grandma and he goes, well, why do you cut the ends of the ham off? He goes, I don't know why they do it, but I never had a pan. I could never afford a pan big enough to hold the whole ham. So I tell you this story because that's how most people treat interest rates, right? Their grandpa says, when you go to the bank, make sure it's about the interest rate. Ask them about the lowest interest rate. And so you're just repeating what's been taught to you by your family, even though it's wrong, because the interest rate doesn't matter. It's how can you make money from the money? Again, the interest rate, and I'm not saying that because we have high interest rates. We have great interest rates. I'm just saying that's never a factor. And interest rate matters when you're buying a car that you can't make money from. Interest rate matters when you're buying a house to live in or an investment property that you can't make money on. But when it comes to getting cash or a line of credit, it's not about the interest rate. It's about the money you can make from the money, right? So, and here's what I always tell everybody. Don't take money without a plan, because then you're paying for stupidity, right? But you need a plan. Take money. Hey, okay, I take $500,000. I can recruit this guy, hire this guy, put $100,000 into ads. That's going to make me $1 million, which means I got a 30. So my interest rate might have been 20, but I made 30% on someone else's money. Because that, you hear the term OPM. That's how people make money. They raise money from other people. Yep. They pay them a smaller percentage than what they make themselves. When you can make margins on money, that's what it's called. When you can make margins on money, that's real wealth. Because then it doesn't take your money to make money because you understand how to leverage other people's. So
100%. I think, you said it. I love that you kind of took it this way too, because I think, again, kind of how we're programmed is typically, we go get this money when we need it, when when we're in need, right? When we're desperate, when something's gone wrong. And it's like, for somebody like myself, and I know for you, it's like, well, shit, if they're going to give it to me, what can I do to freaking go take advantage of another opportunity out there? And that's one of my favorite sayings. I can't remember who I got it from. So I'm quoting you, but I can't remember your freaking name. But it's better to be prepared for an opportunity without one than to be presented an opportunity and not be prepared. Yep. Right. And it's like, I mean, guys, if they're already willing to give it to you, and I love your thinking behind that, because again, I think that's just kind of how well, if I don't need it, why would I go get that? Right. There's interest, there's this and this involved. And I'm like, y'all are only paying on the line of credit if you use it. Don't you wish, that's a nice little safety net to have in case you need it. And again, you would rather be prepared for that opportunity than to not be. I love that you took it that way too, because it's advantageous to make your money work for you too, y'all.
Yeah, and it's like anything else. Your first loan from a lender, private money bank might be at a higher rate, and then you refinance after you've made a few payments and show good payment on the back end, get a lower rate, and following that process. So, a lot of people aren't thinking the end game. Here's what you got to do when it comes to money. You have to think how fast can, like, right now, if I said, Joe, here's $500,000, if you spend it and turn it into 750 grand, I'll give you 10 million. Right? You'd figure out how to do that.
Right.
I'll say, hey man, you got 6 months to figure out how to turn $500,000 into 750. When you do that, I'll give you 10 million. You treat it that way, guess what? That 10 million, it becomes a reality pretty fucking quick. Because that's really what's happening. You get good at flipping that money, I'll give you 10 million. Well, eventually you're going to get to that 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they have this weird relationship with money. They think money is meant to be stored and saved. Money is not meant to be stored and saved. Money is meant to move. Money has to move. It has to flow. It's just like water, man. As soon as you stop water from moving, it grows algae, it gets stagnant. Man, you got a running river. That thing's beautiful, crystal clear water. We see it all the time, right? It's the same thing with money. So many people think, oh, I need to hold on to all of it, especially people with a lot of money. They think, oh, I need to hold on to a lot of it. No, you don't. First of all, it depreciates. So that's a bad idea. Second of all, it needs to be working for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a lot of people, here's what they'll do. They'll make money in their main business and they'll take it out and put it into something else. Like, what the fuck? The thing that makes you the money you're not reinvesting back into? That's crazy.
Yes. Preach on that. Well, again, that goes back to the freaking distractions and in the world we live in today. Isn't that funny, man? I love that you just said that because I see it. It's like, what is up with why like you were crushing right here, man? Like, why are you now you're doing this? Wait, you're starting up a CRM company or our VA company or what? I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why did you go away from the main focus? There's so many distractions and shiny objects out there now.
Because it seems because they've already built something, so it's fun to build, right? So, oh, here's something new I can build. It becomes boring, the same old thing. But the reality is, like, let's just say you flip. I have this rule: never work for the same dollar twice. So if I work for Closer Capital and I make 100 grand, and then I take that 100 grand and I go buy a flip house, and now I got to order materials, get a general contractor, hire real estate. Now and my 100 grand's gone, and I got to work for it to get it back. It's fucking stupid. Instead, I'm gonna take 100 grand and I'm going to hire somebody in my office. I'm going to, renovate the podcast studio because we get paid $4 grand a month from, views on YouTube, or I'm going to do something along that nature. Right. So many people, they go and they just buy themselves another job with the money they worked at the first job hard for. It's fucking crazy. So
we could keep going.
Yeah.
I want to respect everybody's time. I know we got started a little late, so we're going to cut it just a little bit, but I know we're coming up right at 10. Y'all, for anybody that's watching, that is actually interested. Again, guys, if you're on the insurance side of things, now is a great time. It's the beginning of the new year, right? Any of those that are coming off of OEP and AEP, right? This is your peak season. You've got really good returns and the cash is showing. To Ryan's point, like, go see what you can. And again, it doesn't hurt. All right, and so I'm gonna drop my link in here.
What if, let's say that, like, someone's watching and they're depositing, 200 grand a month, and they hit me up, we get them $100,000 or so line of credit, and they're like, I really don't need it, and they pay their $10,000 back or whatever the case may be. Then in 3 months from now, one of their competitors is selling their book of business. What if you could borrow money from Closer Capital? You're at peak right now, and then go take that money and buy someone else's book, or buy your competition out, or whatever the case, man. So, like that, when I say thinking of how you can make money from the money, right? Like, if I know that I go and I pay Joe, a down payment of 100 grand to go buy his book of business that's millions of dollars, like, I know that money's paying for itself at that point.
Right. Yes, I love that you just said that. M&A, boys, it's that's a big one, man. I honestly haven't even really.
We do SBA loans, so if you guys are acquiring shit or buying buildings, or we do all that stuff. So you go through Joe's link, man, and we'll get you taken care of.
I love it, dude. Yeah, I just dropped that in the comments, y'all. Again, if you are, just take the minute, just fill it out. you can work with Ryan and the team. If you guys obviously, if you have questions or you're interested as far as being able to provide this to your clients or to other business owners or anything on that side, definitely reach out to me and I can get you connected with the Closer Capital team. You guys can become an affiliate, right? You don't need to necessarily do all the loans and collect all the paperwork and everything. Like, just be an affiliate, get your money,
drop your link, get some money.
Yep. And it separates you from the crowd, man. So Ryan, real quick, for anybody that wants to reach out, man, how can they find you?
Follow me on Facebook. Ryan Stewman's got a verified check on there. Follow me there, because next week I'm gonna be making that announcement on the webinar, and you want to get on there and definitely be a part of this. If nothing else, it's just free money. I tell people, like, all around them, there's all these levers they can pull for money, and most people never pull any of them. This is a lever you can pull for money, so make sure that you pull it.
Yes. Love it, dude. Well, Ryan, dude, again, thank you for your time, man. I know, again, it's like, I love people like when I can just hit you up, and I know it's short notice, but then like, hey, you ride or die. Like, I know you got my back and you hopped on short notice this morning, man. So I really appreciate you, man. I appreciate everything that you represent and do and how you carry yourself. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I know it was on my personal profile, but it will be pinned to the top. So you guys, if you're catching the replay, don't hesitate to drop any questions, any comments, and we will circle back for you. But without further ado, y'all, it's Winning on Wednesday. It's the peak of the week. Let's finish out strong. And I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. See you guys.